Andrew Alli. Andrew, you're an investor in Athi River Cement. That's correct, right?
Yes, the Africa Finance Corporation, of which I'm the CEO,
yes,
has been an investor in ARM Cement since about 2012. We have a $50 million convertible instrument in the company, which was primarily used to finance the Tanga plant in Tanzania, which is soon to open.
And Andrew, how has the investment performed for you since you made it?
Well, it's a convertible instrument, which means that a lot of the return is tied to the share price performance. The thesis under which we made the investment was that the market hadn't yet recognized, at the time we were making the investment, the market hadn't yet recognized the improvement in performance that would be coming through from Tanga. And since then, I think that recognition has come into the market and the share price has done extremely well. And therefore, our convertible also is doing quite well. We still think that there's a lot of upside in the company. Now that the Tanga clinker plant is about to start being commissioned, and there are also quite a few opportunities still in Kenya where about a third of the cement or the clinker is imported.
So do you foresee yourself staying as a shareholder? Because I think there's an expiry date around your convertible, isn't there?
Yes.
Maturity date.
Yes, so the convertible is a debt instrument which is convertible into equity in the company. It's got about 4 years left to run, and at the end of the 4 years we'll have to choose whether we want to convert or whether we want the company to pay us out. As it stands today, if it were today, we would probably convert because we're in the money, but we have to see how things pan out.
And was this your first investment in East Africa?
It was our first investment in Kenya.
Yes.
We had a loan which we had given to Ethiopian Airlines,
yes,
to expand its fleet. So that would be our first investment in East Africa.
And besides the fact that you thought the market hadn't sort of valued Athi River correctly at the time you made your investment, what else persuaded you about the company to invest in this company at that time that you did?
Well, I think ultimately when you're investing in a company, you're really investing in the management team. And we felt that Athi River Mining, or ARM Cement, had an excellent management team with a proven track record. In particular, their ability to commission new cement plants at a price far below what some of their competitors are able to achieve was very important to us, because ultimately cement is more or less a commodity product, and the cheaper, where you're taking a market price, and the cheaper you're able to produce that, the better for you from a competitive position. The corporate governance we also felt was very good. It is a family-owned or controlled business, but the corporate governance is very open. There are top-level people on the board. We find the discussions to be very frank and the way a company should be governed. And so that was also quite important to us.
If I can go back to the point you're making about the Tanga clinker plant, which seems to me a competitive advantage that Athi River have created for themselves, we've already seen a good acceleration in the first 6 months earnings that we saw today. Are you expecting significant margin expansion once this comes on stream?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, most of the cement that ARM Cement is selling in Tanzania today is based on imported clinker. So not only are they, buying the clinker from offshore, the costs of transporting it to Tanzania are also, included in that price. Now they'll be making their own, so there'll be a substantial reduction in the price of the major input into the cement they're selling. So we would expect to see margins expanding. What has happened over the last year or so is that the top line of ARM Cement has been growing, the revenues have been growing, but the gross profit hasn't been growing quite as much because they've been relying on imported clinker to make up the additional sales. Now, as they start to substitute the imported clinker for clinker that they're making themselves, you'll see the margins continue to increase even without top-line growth, although we still expect the market to continue to grow quite robustly as well.
And we've seen some robust growth numbers coming out, and I suppose the move in Tanzania is a good one because that's the fastest growing piece of the East African equation right now at 7.5%.
Yeah, Tanzania is growing very well, and it's a more virgin market as far as cement goes. But I think that you know, Kenya also provides good opportunities. As I mentioned before, 1/3 of Kenya's cement is based on imported clinker. That is a very large market, and although the Kenyan economy may not be growing as fast as Tanzania, I think we all recognize that Kenya is still somehow the engine of growth within the EAC. So we see the opportunities to bring in new plants in Kenya over the next 3-4 year time frame as being a major growth opportunity for the company as well.
Andrew, I'd like to touch on the fact that you're a Nigerian-based. How would we characterize you, as a fund?
Well, no. Africa Finance Corporation is actually a multilateral financial institution, yes. So a DFI, similar to organizations like PTA Bank or yes. the IFC. We're also a Pan-African organization in our scope. Although we're based in Lagos, we have investments in over a dozen countries across the continent, and we've looked at projects, or are looking at projects in about 20 yes. Countries. We've got a portfolio of about $1.5 billion in long-term investments. Now, our total balance sheet size is about $2 billion. We're very keen on the whole Eastern Africa market, and so we're looking for new investments that we can make here. We're currently working on a power project in Rwanda, which we hope to bring to close towards the end of the year, which is quite an interesting one. And
do you think you're a trendsetter in this new intra-African type of investment that we're seeing?
Well, we hope so.
Yes.
One of the things...
Was that the mission?
Well, the mission was really, or is really, to bring investment, to catalyze investments in Africa in infrastructure, heavy industries, and natural resources, which are major engines of growth for most, if not all, countries in the continent. We do see intra-African investment as being an important growth factor. Too often, when people are looking for investment, they're going off to Europe or the Americas or Asia, and are forgetting that there are Africans who nowadays have the resources and the interest to invest, and African investors don't look at maybe political risks and what's going on in other African countries in the same way that someone who's sort of watching CNN yes. From somewhere in Asia might think about African yes. countries. So we're seeing, for example, I think Kenya is a very open country, and sort of we're seeing more intra-African investment coming in here. Not all countries, unfortunately, are as open as this one, but we do see this as a growing trend, and we hope that it continues, and we're trying to play our part in that.
Oh, exciting. Can I ask you finally for your impressions of today? I think you must have attended a few of these AGMs. For me, I get very optimistic when I see the level of engagement of shareholders, the type of scrutiny. What takeaway do you get from these events for which you've flown over from Lagos?
Yes. So I think there are a couple of points here. Firstly, the development of local capital markets within Africa is extremely important. Ultimately, it's going to be really African money and African savings which is going to grow Africa. Foreign investment is always going to be important, but unless we can mobilize our own capital markets and grow them and make them much more relevant, we're not going to get to the results that we want to see. So, you know, this is shareholder democracy and capital market development at the most basic level. And what I really liked, and what I really like about at least the ARM Cement meetings, which are frankly the only ones I've attended in Kenya, is the number of people who seem to be just ordinary Kenyans who are here and who are obviously shareholders in ARM Cement. I mean, obviously, you know, you see institutional investors, but it's nice to see, you know, ordinary individuals who are investing their savings in great companies like ARM. And there are many others in Kenya, and, you know, we hope to see this continue.
Thank you so much, Andrew.
You're very welcome.
Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you.